Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Freelancer Podcast. I'm excited for you guys to be joining us. I am here with Damian Vallelonga from Ratsart.co. It's going to be an awesome episode. He's got tons of value to share. So with that said, Damian, please introduce yourself and welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kyle. I'm glad to be here. So I'm a designer and a brand strategist, working with clients to develop really clear messaging for their company, really clear communication, and really clear website content, in addition to often web designs. I started out as a graphic designer, transitioned into web design, and then I've transitioned into being a brand strategist and a content strategist, helping clients who understand the value in good design, also understand the value in good content and getting the words right, because people who come to your website need to be compelled often to take some action. We need them to do things. And so with the right content and the right design, you can really get a successful website that promotes your business or your organization.
Yeah, I love that, and hence the name Ratsart, right? Do you wanna like let everyone know a little bit more about Ratsart? Because I mean it's really an interesting platform and everything you've got to offer there. So please share it with us.
Yep. So my partner and I just launched an online course called Ratsart. It's geared towards web professionals, so designers, developers, even SEO professionals who might struggle with the content process when working with a client. Many designers have great design skills, but then they relinquish control of the project at a certain point, and they let their client dictate too much of the process. So what we've done with Ratsart is create a framework to allow designers to better collaborate with their clients in a much more efficient way to get much better content that helps everyone. The whole process goes more smoothly. You can launch faster because you're not constantly waiting on clients to answer questions. And you can end up charging more because you are doing more valuable work. So Ratsart can help address some of those issues and help people end up making more money.
Yeah, awesome. So maybe some context, right? So for the listeners and for the watchers of this episode and chat, like our whole takeaway for you is to improve your skill set so that you could write better content, improve your processes, charge more, and ultimately become a better designer, web designer, developer, freelancer, and so on. So that's our intention for this discussion. And I thought it would be cool. So I've got your website open here, Damian. It's called Ratsart.co, and that's WRITESITE.co. And I think I would like to actually sort of frame our discussion based on your curriculum of the course. So firstly, before we even get in that, I love this headline. It says like, create great content for clients and charge 2 to 3 times more. Do you want to expand on that before we get started on the curriculum overview?
Sure. So what we found, our experience is, as a designer, sometimes clients see us as a commodity service, and they'll shop around until they get the lowest price. And sometimes those clients are just not the right clients. But what we found is that by offering a really complete service, so it's design, it's UX, which should always be part of the design process, and content, and obviously the technology, the development behind it, you become way more valuable to them because you've taken a strategic approach throughout the whole process. And that's going to produce a more valuable website for them, in turn, meaning your services become more valuable.
Mm.
So if you have a framework to walk your clients through and produce much better content for their sites, they're going to see the impact in their business. And so naturally, you should charge more for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like, I love that ethos and that way of thinking about a project, because number one, you're not thinking of it as a commodity product, that you can get off the shelf. And the main thing that I love about that is you're concerned about the results, hence why you can charge more. So yeah, I just wanted to echo that, because I found that a lot of freelancers, developers, designers, they struggle to get over that mental hurdle of actually believing that what they're creating is an asset to the business. And that a lot of people just think it's just a website. How do you sort of teach people that sort of mental hurdle to realize that they're creating an asset and they need to be concerned about the results of what that could bring them?
Oh, believe me, I was totally in that mindset earlier on in my career. I did not understand the big picture. I didn't really see the potential in what I could do for someone. I understood that I was delivering something of value, but I really just had a limited view of that. Not only, so you couple that with actually hating the idea of touching content. It was so unappealing to me when I was younger. It was like, well, if you got, thinking like with a client, if you want to deal with that, then that's on you. Like, I'm a designer. Don't try and mash these things together. It doesn't work. But I was just saying, it doesn't work with me. It doesn't work for me because I didn't have a big picture understanding. But we have, if someone comes to you and they say, I need a new website, can you help build a new website? They're not just asking, they might not have the language, but they're not just asking for the visual design and the technology. They are asking for a website, okay? And a website contains images, colors, type styles, the underlying technology, and what else? Words, the content. And so the client sees, I need a new website that can do something for my business, but the designer sees the visual side and the technology side. And then this content slice is left. No one's taking responsibility yet. No one's taking charge of it or ownership over it. And so it slips through the cracks. And then often the designer just pushes it back on the client. The client doesn't know how to do it. And then you get average, super average content, or even what someone just told me, which we've experienced before, but we just heard from one of our members, that she had a lawyer client, okay? A lawyer who suggested to her that she go and copy things from her competitors' websites.
Wow.
Can you believe that? Okay, so that's the state of the content process with web projects. It's just not good. And we as designers totally have, it's within our realm to offer oversight of the content process, because that's part of this package. That's part of the website. And so when we realize, oh, we can move into this other space, sort of bring that under our wing and really nurture that process, we get to charge more for it, and we get better results at the end. And so the feedback from clients starts getting better and better, because that you've opened their eyes to some new ideas, and they're seeing it make an impact in their business, and they're stoked on not just how their website looks, but how it sounds, how people are reading it. So it's a transformation that it took me a long time to do, and now I just see how silly I was years ago when it was a learning process. We're all constantly just going through an evolution and learning process. And it just took me a long time until I realized the value of opening my eyes and being open to learning another skill. And so anyhow, so we're trying to take our years of experience and try and make it easier for web designers to walk their clients through this process by actually having a framework and not having to start from scratch.
Yeah. First of all, I love what you said, and I do want to talk about the content process. I know that's also a part of the curriculum side, but I wanted to touch on something important that you mentioned, and that is like clients don't really care about the framework that you use or the tool that you use. They're essentially paying for the outcome, right? And content is like a vital part of that outcome. Hence why you said, you can charge more, and it's more in your something you can control, right? So yeah, just to add some more context to our listeners and watchers. So Damian has been very kind to provide a coupon code on his course, and it is a 25% off coupon code. It is TFP. TFP is the coupon code, 25% off, and you can get the course at ratsart.co, which is WRITESITE.co. And that's just to be transparent and upfront with you guys. I'm not getting any, affiliate commissions or anything from that ongoing. I did have a look at the course in the outline, and I went through some of the lectures, and it really looks professional and legit. Hence why I wanted to, share this with you. And Damian was kind to, come on the podcast. So with that said, what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of the outline of the course, and let's just get straight into it. So Damian, on day one, the foundations, talking about the content process and everything, let's talk about the practicality of that, and talking about like how to structure, getting the content and actually how to do it. How does one do this?
So we provide a worksheet to start that really boils things down to asking the right questions to your clients. Mm-hmm. We want to be able to distill down their business to digestible, like talking points, to information that we can put into the website that's going to appeal to their audience. So we have to ask them the right questions, ask them about their audience. What are the things that they're struggling with that your service addresses? And let's talk about those things, because most services exist, most products exist to solve someone's problems or to address a need. And so we really got to make sure we highlight that, because people will connect when they are relating to the information on the site, as well as the imagery, if you can build people into the imagery. So we want to make the sort of a documentation process like, okay, we're going to have a strategy session with the client, and we're going to ask a bunch of questions. And this one meeting changes more minds than any other one type of meeting I've been in, because some people who may be like, a client who just may not see the value in the content yet, when you start asking them these questions, they're like, oh, damn, maybe I should be thinking about that. Maybe I should be addressing that in my website. And so you come off as way more, badass than you did at just pitching design services. And so when you have this framework, when you have the set of questions to walk your client through, you're able to basically have this foundational document that can then inform almost the entire website in terms of the content. And so it's really crucial that you get a good amount of time. I mean, it's anywhere from 45 minutes to 90 minutes with your client to just sit down and have a discussion. And you lead it with this worksheet. You don't necessarily have to just sit there and, okay, question number 5. Mm-hmm. You want to have a conversation, and you want these questions to be the basis for this conversation. So we just that right there, we want to be able to convey, okay, we're taking a thorough exploration into your business or into your organization. Because this can work for nonprofits, for profits, doesn't matter. But we're taking a deep interest in what you provide and who you provide it to. And so when we can document this information about, as I said, some problems, their ideal outcomes, what's their aspirations in the context of this product or service or organization, what type of authority do you have as an organization, where you can, in a brief sort of light-handed way, convey that you have good experience, you have the authority to be able to help people. It's a very thorough document that asks them a lot of good questions and gets you this really strong foundational understanding. You walk away as a designer, you walk away from the meeting like, okay, like I know this company very well, and it's going to allow me to talk about it in a much more concise and compelling way than if I had just sent them a 5-question intake form and they just half-assed it and threw some stuff down, and then you try to just like throw some content together. It's a very different process, and it's one that's going to yield way better results.
Yeah, and just to be clear, when you say content, are you referring to you as the designer, the web designer, the freelancer, writing the content themselves, or utilizing an outsourced person to write for them, or what exactly?
This is for designers to be able to take control of the content process and ultimately get to a point where they can write the content, deliver a wireframe that has not only the layout that you recommend and the hierarchy of information, but the actual words. And you'll likely have to collaborate. Every client's different, every designer's different, but you'll likely have to begin this process by collaborating with your client. And there'll obviously be some back and forth. There's back and forth with every single client, both in design and in content. So you're not necessarily going to hit a home run at your first at bat, but it's a routine, and it's a routine that like you can throw me a client and I can crank out a website headline, just like, maybe not on the fly, but almost on the fly, because I've been practicing it for a long time. And so yes, ideally, the outcome that we want to see, because we have gone through this transformation ourselves, is to be designers who are able to create content with and for the client.
Okay, great. And I think you've given a good overview on the content side. Now, moving on to headers. You said that headers are the most critical section of a website. Why is that?
Well, you're either going to hook someone or you're not. We don't have a lot of time. People, especially nowadays, there are lots of options for almost everything out there. This is for people who are looking, to purchase something or to work with someone. You don't have a lot of time to hook them. So the header of the site has to be not only like professional, the whole site has to obviously look professional, but the header has to contain just the right amount of information, the right type of information to get them to stick around on the site. So navigation aside, just the core components of a like useful header will be an image, whether it's a full-size background or something on this in multiple columns, but something that displays their target audience, so people, combined with their product or service or whatever they're doing. So people enjoying using it's just whatever you want. So in the course we talk about, we have these examples that we run through regularly. We have like a solar energy installation company. We have an accountant, a CPA. We give a lot of examples. And so for this, like solar, reducing your energy bills is a big thing. So someone even just like looking at their energy bill and smiling, or looking proud that they've installed maybe like newer shingles that aren't giant panels, something that incorporates your audience and the product or service that you're doing. For the CPA, it's a little harder to do that for an accountant, because paperwork can be really, paperwork is the problem often with small businesses. And so accountants want to come in and help relieve some of those issues, but you can showcase a confident and calm small business owner who's not letting paperwork bog them down and stress them out. So images are obviously a huge part. We see way too many sites that just show like a phone. Here's this app that I'm selling, and it's just the phone with the app on it. It's not very compelling. Or like if you look at like 90% of law firm websites, it's like, all of these people in suits just like hanging out in front of their desk. Like, okay, that's them. Good for them. Like, what is this trying to tell me about the problems I'm hoping to get resolved by working with you? So you got to think about the audience way more than you think about the company. Only at least enough to just train your brain because obviously we're promoting a company, so you want information about the company, but that is the majority of the focus on most websites. And they forget about the actual user. Who is the audience? So we want to pull it back and gear it as much towards the audience as the website, as the company. So imagery, a strong headline that describes very succinctly what you offer and how is it ultimately helpful. And a subheadline can add a little bit more context, and then a strong call to action. A call to action that is not learn more. It's not get started. It's something very specific. So like for Ratsart, it's enroll now. It's not like I'm going to take you to 10 other pages. You got to read a lot more, watch a few more videos, and then I'll ask you to go to Teachable and think about pressing the button. Like, just enroll now, because that's the ultimate action we want people to get to. They might not do it immediately, but that's okay. They know what their last step is going to be, and that's critical to in my opinion, it's a great UX. It's just making things very clear and easy to use, easy to understand. Like content and UX go hand in hand, just as design and UX go hand in hand. I really feel like they're all pieces of the same pie, and you should not bake without all of those ingredients.
Yeah. So all of these elements that you mentioned, first of all, I agree, and I think it's incredibly important that web developers, designers actually know the psychology of creating effective websites. Anyone can create websites, but the question is it effective? Is it going to get results? And again, it's going back to that. You want to be perceived as a professional. You want to be a professional. You don't want to be a commodity. And the way to do that is to think about these things in detail, as you mentioned. So you spoke about these elements, the nav bar, the copywriting sort of headlines, the images, the call to actions, and all that. How would one bring this together to create like a very good, effective homepage? Because obviously a homepage for a company is really, besides for some of the landing pages, maybe for marketing campaigns or certain for SEO things, a homepage is generally a very visited, like one of the most visited pages of a client's website. So do you have any tips for how to create more engaging, effective homepages that yield and result in more actions being taken?
Absolutely. So the header is what we discussed. That's obviously just the top of the site, top of the homepage. And it's really there to give the best first impression. And the rest of the homepage is still, we really think about it as the introduction. Like this, for a lot of users, for a lot of visitors to the site, this may be one of the first things they engage with, the first touch point for them. And so we want to make a really strong introduction, and we can't do that by overwhelming them with information. We also can't do that by underwhelming them with information. We can't do that with 10 different button styles and 10 different like call to actions on the buttons. It's got to be concise, but hit a handful of points. So we have to address the issue at hand. What is it that your audience is dealing with that your product or service or organization helps address, helps resolve? So for our course, Ratsart, it's we've lost control of this process to our clients, and now we are waiting to get paid for sometimes months. I mean, I've had a project delay like 18 months. It's unbelievable. Before I knew how to help with content. So you want to speak to what is going on currently, because that's the state that the user is in. They come to a site looking for assistance with something, a plumber, a new cell phone case, like they're looking for things. So where are they in that moment? Let's talk about that. Then let's explain how this product or service or organization can resolve that, and describe the offering in a very concise and appealing way. And so you want to use benefit language a lot of the time, which is standard. For marketing purposes, you always want to be focusing on benefits over features. We talk about how to create really great little mini stories in the form of a testimonial, a quote, a review from a user or from a customer, because most just say, "Oh, this company was great. I love them. Highly recommended." Okay, that didn't tell me anything about what to expect. What should I expect? Because those things, social proof is invaluable. Social proof is so useful, but not if it's just general, boring, uninformative text. It's got to tell a little story. So when you can get a testimonial or a quote from someone that speaks to the original issue that they were dealing with, and how this product or service helped, and what things are like now after the fact, you've just created this little nugget of super relatable, super compelling information that the user is like, "Oh, wow, that's what I'm dealing with. And I saw that this product or service just helped that person work through it. And now they're on the other side of things, and it's amazing." So when you can do that, it's really, really helpful. There's also opportunities to just speak a little bit more deeply about how this company works, or specifically like with service-based companies, which are the bulk of our clients. Talking a little bit more about the process and what to expect working together, using empathy as much as possible, combined with credentials. So empathizing with people's current situation, like, okay, we've either experienced this ourselves, or we totally understand this process because a lot of our clients deal with it, or a lot of our customers deal with it. And then being able to say, for 20 years, we've helped people like you dealing with this issue get this result, or 30,000 people have subscribed to this whatever and are seeing excellent results. And you can there's also another very important opportunity is to speak to basically taking a stance for something. It's like a philosophy or a belief about what is it that your company stands for. Okay, because you exist to serve someone, all right? You exist to serve someone something. Why is that important? So we believe, Ratsart, we say every designer deserves the skills to create great content. Like, that's just a belief that we have, having gone through this transformation and moved from just a designer to brand strategists and designer and content strategist. We believe that everyone deserves to have these skills because it can make you way more valuable, way more confident, and you can get much more out of your work because you're having such a great impact for your clients. So we can speak to all of these things. And if you do it in a limited amount of text, okay, not just like just like paragraph after paragraph after paragraph, you are able to present a really strong introduction to this organization's product or service on the homepage, top to bottom. Here, it's very digestible. As designers, it's our job to make things, arrange things in a way that makes it appealing, makes it usable, makes it easy to navigate all these things. So we use that expertise and we combine that with the ability to develop concise language, and we present a homepage that is a fantastic, valuable, meaning it's an introduction that conveys just how much value this product or service can bring the customer. So if you know, okay, the end goal of my job is to help my client convey just how valuable they are. That's like a critical point to have in mind the whole time. It's my job to make this client look professional and also convey how valuable they can be.
Yeah, well, you touched on so many nuggets on that one. I think what I like what you mentioned. Two of the things that stand out to me is the purpose of a homepage is introductory, meaning that the purpose of a homepage is for someone not to stay on the homepage. They're supposed to, it's supposed to lead them to, let's say, take an action to go somewhere else or to a certain page or something. And then the other one is just to sort of condense also what you mentioned, which I really love, is like thinking about a website in two main ways. And I think a lot of freelancers only get caught up, or developers, designers only get caught about how they would think of it. But there's two key areas, and that is about what the website visitor thinks, how they are at that moment, landing on that specific page. And then also at the same time, it's about what the business owner thinks, in that sense, about like what the business does, what type of service and everything that they can offer. So I love those nuggets, and I've got another question to ask. Do you have any tips for our listeners and watchers on like how to create more appealing and effective pages in that regard?
Definitely. So things like services or products, they tend to be really lengthy. In my experience, I find pages that are really lengthy and way too technical in what they are explaining. And that's a recipe for a bounce. So we know that there are clear SEO guidelines that talk about minimum word counts and all this stuff. We're not, I don't think we would say that anyone is wrong to suggest that there's a certain quantity that's good, but I am still of the mind that quality is better than quantity. And if you deliver the right type of information, you are going to have not only strong SEO, but a strong user experience, and people are going to come away with the right impression of your services or your product. So we don't just want to overwhelm people with technical stuff, because if a business is in charge of writing those descriptions, that's what you're going to get. They are, and this is what we see, because as I said, all too often we designers relinquish this role to the client and say, send me your content. And this is one of the worst one of the types of pages that gets the worst treatment from a company, because your client knows everything there is to know about their company. And so they can likely speak endlessly about the stuff that they do, but that's not always what their audience needs or cares about. And so it's our job to sort of like translate what's in our clients' heads so that the audience gets only the most necessary, useful type of content. So there are these common topics like the problem. What does this specific service address? What are some of the experiences that your audience is likely having right now, that in the context of this one service? What are some of the technical details? Because we do want to include those. It's just got to be treating it it's almost like respecting the user. Like, you don't just want to hit them over the head with crap load of content. Like, you need to respect their time, respect their attention, realize that they can't read an entire book. But you do want to give them some amount of the technical stuff behind it. And technical means different things for different types of companies. And then there's obviously the need for the benefits. What does the outcome look like using this service, and how, tying it right back to the current problem that they're dealing with? So if you can lay out those three components, some problem, some technical stuff, some benefits, and then you can have a section that talks about, what to expect, like what the process looks like. It can be a handful of steps, or just a short description, something that gives people a little bit more clarity on, oh, okay, if I'm in need of this one service and I hire this company or I buy this product, what should I really expect? It can go a long way in easing potential fears that they have. So there's a recipe that we like to work with when it comes to those types of pages that really relies on a strategic approach and not overwhelming them with dry, super detailed, like way too deep in the weeds information. Like, that stuff maybe can come down the road when you're talking with someone, like if there's a meeting between a prospect and a client, or I'm speaking from this often from the services perspective, but there sometimes is a time when those details are needed, a sales call or something like that. But on a website, like, you've just got to give them a great first impression and a great introduction. So I talked about an introduction for the homepage, but really the whole site can be thought of as an introduction to a product or service, because the amount of time that someone spends on the site versus working together or using a product or something, it's just a little blip on the radar relative to the grand scheme of their time with that product or service. So it really technically is just the beginning of the experience. And so it's all an introduction. And so we want to make sure that it's done in a very gentle way with the most compelling type of content possible.
Yeah. And do you agree that most website visitors are like skimmers, like they sort of scan content instead of actually reading it? What's your thoughts on that? Is it? Okay.
Definitely, yes. And so we want to make the site. So this is how we think about the priority, is like, we want to make it mostly skimmable so that someone can read some headlines, some H2s or something coming down the page, and get like some really good, very quick information, but then also provide just enough, a little bit deeper dive for the people who absolutely have the attention span and really want to learn a little bit more. It's there for them, but it's not risking losing the attention of the skimmer. So it's not necessarily like the easiest thing in the world. But if you can think about it with that mindset, like, oh, okay, let's not forget that a lot of people who are coming to this site, they're going to scroll like kind of quickly through the page, just absorb the highest level information and then move on. If a lot of people are doing that, then don't make, if you have like a section with a title or a headline for that section, take time to really bake in some useful information about, especially the benefits. What's the outcome going to look like by using this or doing business with it? So like, what are they going to come away with? Just things that give them, in as short of attention span as they have, give them the really essential information. And then for the people who want to dig deeper, that stuff is also there for them.
Yeah, and do you think that it's also beneficial to have like an FAQ, frequently asked questions, on these pages?
I'd say sure. It depends. There are some times when there are some types of products or services that just really don't demand it. We've had clients who've asked that same question, and we've even had a client where they had these two primary services, and one service just wasn't as involved as their other service was. So we're like, we think the standard page content that we're going to develop is really going to give somebody a complete understanding, because it's such a common service. This other one, though, they may have a lot more questions. So let's build out, it was only maybe like 5 or 6 questions and answers, but it provided some more content, and they were happy for SEO purposes, but in a collapsible accordion. So it was a really nice, not just a super long run-on page, but it was there because we're not just trying to get to some quota, a specific word count. It's because we thought, okay, this audience definitely will have more questions. So let's answer them really like point blank. Like, here's a very specific question we hear a lot. Here's the answer, and a number of those. So it was there for a very specific purpose. It wasn't just to meet a quota.
Awesome. All right. So I've got 2 final questions for you, Damian. And on a practical note, so putting this all together, right? Like you've touched on some really great UX and content insights. So how would one apply this practically to actually start selling the service, pitching the service, to get more clients, to be able to charge more, to be able to be that professional?
Well, the first and easiest way to do that is, and luckily it's easy, because if the client, especially if the client that a prospect that you're talking to has ever gone through a website project before, then you have an advantage. It's not like an advantage on them, but they've experienced likely the painful process already. But even if they haven't, they're not going to be excited if they are on the hook for work while paying you to do the work. Does that make sense? So if you can say, listen, we're here to walk you through this like very complete process. We're gonna ask questions. We're gonna have conversations. We're going to email and get clarity on things, but we're gonna provide the framework for this process so that we're not relying on you or putting any pressure on you to have to develop anything on your own. It's let's collaborate and let us lead the process to get to a point. And it's really like, it's a differentiator. So most designers in the world don't offer this type of service. So right out of the gate, if you say you do this, you're differentiating yourself from other designers in your area, most likely. And so you can say, listen, most designers don't do this, but guess what? Your website is not going to work for you as well. So we want to help you think through this process of compelling your audience with words. And you marry that with our stellar design, and you get a complete website that has been thought out. Every pixel that is on this site has been thought out in terms of the design and the words. So we want to help you get the most out of this project. And we believe it's by doing a combination of a great job at the visual design and a great job of the content development. And no one that I've talked to thinks that's bad. being comprehensive and taking a holistic approach to this is looked at as a wise thing to do. So you don't, and we say that you can make 2 to 3 times more on your projects, and you'll be able to build up to that. You won't necessarily do that like right out of the gate. It took us time to get to that point, but content, in our experience and our opinion, is as valuable as design services. Okay, a lot of designers do not see it that way, but technically speaking, in terms of real dollars, we will charge as much or more for the content strategy and development as we do as the design. So I'm not just saying it's my opinion that I think it is. It's absolutely based on the fact that we have received money from clients for these services, and it has made us that much more. So it is absolutely possible to start increasing your rates as you are working through this new strategic framework and bringing that much more value to your clients. You can start upping your rates because you're offering a more complete service.
Yeah. Wow. You're also just making me think as well a little bit more about, my own freelancing business. But yeah, I think, like the takeaway for me, at least in this conversation, one of many, but it's like to be more intentional and strategic about the services and what you are pitching. So it's not just to look at it as like, hey, here's the website, here's what I can do for you. It's more like, here's a well thought out website laid out based on what you've told me, and thinking about your website visitor, and then really being strategic and intentional about the content being used, the headings, dealing with the pain problems, dealing with the benefits, dealing with saving money, saving time, or losing money, or any type of those problems, and then portraying that in a way that makes sense for the website visitor and the business owner. Therefore, I'm a professional. I'm good at what I do. I'm going into this much detail. I'm not just delivering an off-the-shelf commodity product to you. I need to pay. I need to get paid what I'm worth. Because the value to you is greater than what you are paying me. So yeah, I think if you can give like 30-second, 1-minute summary for our listeners and watchers, what type of takeaway or final tip would you like them to take from our chat?
Well, really, let's overcome the painful delays that our clients cause our projects to incur. It's if we can own the complete process of building a site, not just the design and development, but if we can own the entire process, then you have relieved your client of homework, things that they don't know how to do and don't want to do, and frankly think you're supposed to be doing for them. You take control of this process. You are seen as more valuable to them. You own the timeline. You control the timeline. You have a much more predictable process, predictable launch date. So how many sites have gotten delayed because of this content gridlock between you and your clients? And it's not just a delay in their site launching, it's a delay in you getting paid. And that's not easy as a freelancer. We need as much predictability as possible. So if you can control the process better, you can launch faster, You can have more predictable timelines. You get paid when you need to, when you want to, and you make more money because of the value that you can bring them.
Yeah, I love it. Damian, thank you so much for our chat. This has been really incredible. To our watchers and listeners, Damian has a course together with Matt Carroll. They are co-creators of this course at Ratsart.co. That is WRITESITE.co. And you can get 25% off their course using the coupon code TFP. Is there anything else that you want to add, Damian?
It was just exciting to chat with a fellow designer, and I really appreciate the time.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Damian. And thanks so much to our listeners and watchers. Really hope you found a lot of value in this. I definitely did. And I'm excited to put it out there and share it with you all. Thanks so much. Check you guys in the next one.